Greetings, friends and foes, and welcome along to Keep Your Friends Close and Your Animes Closer with me, as always, your anime conductor, as in musical conductor, Joel.
And me, your anime... how many chairs does it go? I know, like, first chair violinist is, like, the best chair.
Triangle player.
How many does it go down to, like, fourth chair?
Fourth
chair violinist, Robert.
And I'm your anime cowbell player, Curtis.
This is a show. This is a show where we watch an anime and then we talk about it, and then we also talk about anything kind of Japanese anime media related that we did in the week. And this week we watched the 1993 movie Ninja Scroll. And before we talk about that, last time on KYFCaYAC, do you have any follow-up?
Yeah, just a little wee thing. I was incredulous that anyone could possibly blow up a hot water bottle with their mouth and diaphragm and lungs alone. But then I looked it up, and there are Guinness World Records of people doing it.
Power of Christ compels you, bitch.
It would be amazing if like everyone who's ever done it was
Christian.
Like, it's Christian. Yeah.
The Holy Spirit. I guess my follow-up would be that I maybe dragged my dad a little bit too much, but it's all fine. We're on good terms now. Curtis, any burning secrets?
No.
We'll move right on past it then and go into Ninja Scroll Abridged. I don't think this one has a song or music.
We'll find something. Alright, so just off the top, just a bit of a trigger warning. This is a very R-rated movie. There's gore, there's violence, and there are scenes of sexual violence as well. We open with a ninja walking over a bridge, eating a rice ball. He's ambushed by 3 bandits, but he makes very short work of them, without even dropping his rice ball. He's a very lone wolf ninja mercenary, and we learn that he's a very capable fighter, and he's got a good moral compass. The opening theme song. And then crows and ravens are pecking at corpses strewn across a destroyed village, and 2 men are trying to fix up one of the houses when a plague-ridden girl walks zombie-like into the town, and she says, "All my village are dead because of an epidemic." And it turns out she's being controlled by some shady guy in the bushes. She's a puppet. Once she delivers her message, he lets her die. There's a fat chamberlain ordering a team of ninjas to go off and find the people responsible for the epidemic. And then a woman shows up, Kagero. Is that how you would pronounce it? Kagero? Kagero. Kagero joins them, and she's like, "Hey, I'm a capable fighter too. You should bring me along. I'm a ninja as well." So they go off to try and find this epidemic village, but they're ambushed. And electrified garottes and boomerang swords make short work of the huge crack team of ninjas.
Electrified what?
Garottes.
What's the garrote?
A wire that you use to choke someone with.
Right on.
A very thin chicken wire kind of thing.
What language is that from?
It's French, probably. It sounds French. Garrotte.
Very good.
So garrotes and swords, the ninjas all die, and it turns out the ones responsible are like demons. We find out a little bit later.
No, they're just very skilled ninjas who have developed ninja techniques and turning their skin into rocks. Yeah. So one guy is gigantic. He's a big ogre of a fella, and he's got rock for skin, effectively. So none of their swords getting through to him. He's also very, very strong.
He's very strong. Yeah.
When Robert says a flying sword, what he means is like a twin blade. So Darth Maul style sword, but on each side is a great sword, and he throws it like a boomerang, and it cuts trees down and people, and just comes right on back to him.
Yeah, always comes back to him. So all of the ninja team are killed except for this woman Kagero, who is kidnapped and sexually molested by this giant man who is now no longer covered in rock.
He can trigger it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
When we see it happen. When we see it happen in the film, I'm going to get to the fact that like we see him covered in rock, and then we see he's now not covered in rock.
The way you said it sounded like you were grumpy that he wasn't anymore and inconsistent.
This Rockman fella is interrupted in his dirty deed by the appearance of the ninja from the start of the movie, whom he tells to piss off, I'm busy. And he's like, nah, I don't think so. You're kind of a creep and I'm going to put a stop to it. So he grows his rock skin back and then he taunts the ninja. He says, I bet you're wishing you run off now. Now you can't hit me. And the ninja says, well, not all of you's covered in rock. And then he stabs him in the eye. And he saves Kagero and runs away. The Rockman gives chase, but as soon as he's out of the building, the garrote dude from earlier says, hey, you lost this round. Don't forget our mission. Lord Gemma's orders. Bit of exposition. We learn that the ninja is called Jūbē, and he's the main character of the movie, presumably the ninja from the title.
Yeah.
Kagero.
No, because he's a wandering samurai. He's not a ninja.
Isn't he?
No.
I'm pretty sure they referred to him as a ninja a couple of times.
He's not a ninja. No way. But we'll move on.
Kagero gives the fat Chamberlain from before the news of the team's slaughter. She says, I wasn't able to learn anything about the epidemic because there's some guy who's really skilled and killing us all. And so the Chamberlain's like, all right, go back again and find out more about it. Jūbē gets ambushed by the Rockman, who's managed to track him down, and he gets badly beaten, but then he fights back. And his sword and/or technique is good enough to pierce his rock skin and actually manages to defeat him. There's an old guy been watching the whole thing, and he says, we should join forces. That big old rock fella you just killed was one of the 8 devils of the Kimon.
He's not actually devils.
That's what he says, though, right?
Yeah.
8 devils of Kimon.
No, I think...
Are they not actually demons?
No.
Oh, what?
They're
Okay,
just,
we'll get to that then later, because I thought they were literally demons. The garrote guy, it turns out, is second in command to this Lord Gemma fella, and his name is Yurimaru. Yurimaru speaks a message through his wire to Lord Gemma, so he can talk to people of long distances as if it's like a cups and string situation. There's a lady demon introduced, Zakuro, who pulls the moves on Yurimaru, but he's not interested in her, and so she's scorned. Remember that for later. The other lady demon, Benisato, she finds Jūbē washing himself in the hot pools, and she gets herself naked, and she's covered head to toe in a full body tattoo. All these snakes intertwined all around her. The snakes, while she's talking to Jūbē, start to twist and come to life and move themselves over her skin, which kind of hypnotizes Jūbē, and he starts to slink down in the water. And then the snakes attack. They actually come out of her body and attack as real-life snakes. Just as they're about to hit him, though, he takes a shuriken to the shoulder, which snaps him out of his hypnotism. And he fights back, he draws his sword, he kills all the snakes, and then he grabs onto the snake lady, and she sheds her skin and escapes, and it's really gross. And then the old dude from before, he was the one who threw the shuriken at him, and he's like, hey, no thanks necessary. But I do need your help killing all these demon people. And then there's lots of exposition. Crazy 8 demons are like ninjas who work for someone called Shogun of the Dark, who wants to rebuild House of Toriyami or something. There's lots more exposition which I couldn't quite follow about a gold mine and some spies and the government and a conspiracy and Lord Gemma.
Do you want me to tell you what was happening?
Yeah, tell me what's...
So this kind of gets elaborated on a little more. I've forgotten the name of the house that has been scorned. But essentially, there were... so this is set during the Edo period when the shogunate were ruling from Edo. Edo is the capital of Japan at this point. And this is like an alternate timeline where they have found a secret repository of gold. And so the Toriyama... Is it the Toriyama?
It's something like that. House of Toriyama.
I'm forgetting what it is. But the Toriyama family are the ruling shogunate at the moment, which is not the same as like an emperor. There is still an emperor, but he's just a figurehead. The shogunate is the military, and they run the country.
Okay.
So there is a family, or like the head of a family, calling himself the Dark Shogunate, because when you want to be the good guy, you call yourself the dark of the thing that's good. And he has found a secret repository of gold, and every time the government has tried to, infiltrate to find out where that mine is, they've been killed. They've been mining gold for 5 years, and they have enough gold now to overthrow the government. That's the plot of this.
Right. So the old guy was a government spy.
Yes.
And all of his other government spy agents were killed because they started to find out too much about this mine.
Yeah.
And the Dark Shogun didn't want the government finding out
Yeah,
about mine.
and the Dark Shogunate has employed the 8 devils of Kimon.
Because it was like kimono.
Sorry, yeah. So the 8 devils of Kimon are working for the Dark Shogun.
Right.
So to keep the gold a secret and the mine a secret.
Yeah, because that confused me, because I thought Lord Gemma was the Dark Shogun for a while, until the end when he starts talking about him. And I was like, he can't be talking about himself in third person now, because this wouldn't make sense. Alright, so back to the old guy. He gives all the exposition, and he says, and I need your help killing them all. And he's like, nah, I don't think so. And he's like, well, you're going to die if you don't, because I just... The throwing star that I hit you with, it was covered in a poison, and I'm the only one with the antidote to it. And also Lord Gemma is involved, and with the name of that, it sparks a flashback for Jūbē. He beheaded Gemma earlier, and he's like, nah, that can't be right. I've killed him myself. He can't still be alive. They eventually, obviously, he talks him into working for him, and so they team up. The old guy falls down a hill, and he gets attacked by a shadow demon who can like literally slink into shadow and disappear entirely. He's got a mechanical chain claw for a hand, which is really cool. Jūbē goes off to like a temple, and he sees a chanting nun who, like, in a really gross way, bursts into snakes, and then he gets trapped under a huge swarm of snakes that falls from the ceiling. The shadow demon loses the old guy. He doesn't know where he went, because apparently the old guy can like stretch himself to look like a branch. It's really weird. I don't know. People have got powers like mutants from X-Men, and it's confusing. Kagero, the lady from before, the only one to survive the initial attack. Kagero comes to the rescue of Jūbē, and she gets bitten by a vagina snake. The snake lady...
vagina snake.
The snake lady is... she's defeated by Kagero again, and so she's killed by the electric wire Garrote dude for having failed a second time now. Kagero, she's been poisoned by this snake bite, but she tells Jūbē not to worry because she's immune to poison. Kagero meets the old guy now, and they have a little bit of a reunion. And the old guy goes, oh yeah, she's immune to poison because she's like covered in poison, and anyone she sleeps with is poisoned.
She's just got poison blood.
Yeah, she's got like poison all throughout her and shit. The Garrote demon electrocutes an entire lake, and then they wait downstream and see that only things that are floating past dead are fish. So he's like, okay, they didn't escape by water then. How about land? One of the other demons is like a wasp demon, and he sends out his wasp scouts to find out where they are.
Ninjas, and
they're called devils. I mean, they have demon powers. He sends out his wasp demons, his wasp scouts, and then they find the people, obviously, and a huge swarm of wasps attacks them. Kagero, for some reason, now has like pollen power, and she like has anesthetic in the pollen power.
Pollen, yeah.
I think she just has
perfume.
Petals up her sleeve, maybe for perfume.
Yeah.
And her poison has just sort of covered them.
Oh, so she just like
so she's just
flicked out
go free flower petals.
Threw the petals out of her sleeves, and because of the proximity to her skin, they were poison petals.
Yeah.
Okay, I suppose. So this anesthetizes the swarm, and it buys them enough time so that Jūbē can track down the wasp demon. He like attacks him in like a windmill, and the wasp guy's like, you hurt me, and that's stupid because now you've injured the hive. And he like sheds his robe, and his back, his entire back, his hunchback is a huge wasp hive.
Not nice.
And it's fucking revolting.
What's that phobia where like you're scared of lotus pods and stuff?
I can't remember
that one, like topophobia or something. I have that. That made me feel very uncomfortable, but I appreciated the design.
A load more wasps come out of his back holes, and they start attacking Jūbē. So he jumps in the river, and he's like, "Haha! As soon as you come out again, as soon as you come up for air, you're gonna die. My wasps will sting you to death, I guess." But Jūbē's like holding his breath, and he looks up through the water, and he sees him standing over the top of him on a branch. So he cuts him down, and he gets into the water, and someone else. He manages to kill the wasp.
He the way that his sword works is if he swings it in the right way, it creates like a shockwave that slices as well. So he slices from the bottom of the lake, and the shockwave continues up, cuts the branch and the dude's leg off.
Right.
The wasp guy falls into the water and starts trying to fight him underwater, but then because he's underwater and his hive is on his back, all the wasps start stinging him from the inside to try and escape.
That's nasty.
Yeah.
So he dies.
See, that makes much more sense now. Every time that he was like cutting things off from a distance, I thought we were inferring that he's super fast. He ran over and cut them and then back again.
That's a really weird assumption to make. No, he just shockwave.
Right. But I mean, I guess it comes from. I guess a really weird assumption to make. I guess it comes from DBZ. Like they would move faster than light and stuff.
No, but in DBZ they do the thing where they turn into like 3 black lines. Like,
all right.
They did it. The way that they illustrated the shockwave was by like a whooshing sound, and there's like a whoosh that follows the strike.
Right. Okay. So he kills the wasp guy. There's 3 down, 5 to go. The old guy says, "Oh, I'm happy that the demon guys are after you now. So see you later," and he leaves. Kagero sees her friend from before, one of the guys that was slaughtered in the original attack. She sees him wandering towards a cliff face without his arms, and she's like, "Whoa, you're still alive? What's happening?" And she runs over to him, right into the trap of a gunpowder demon. And the gunpowder lady, I don't know, she manipulates people and fills them with gunpowder and then explodes them?
Yeah.
Right. They fall off the cliff as the explosion blasts them off the side of the cliff, and as they're climbing back up the cliff, they almost fall again, but they're caught by Utsutsu, who's another one of the demons, who's like a blind sword demon. And I know they're not really demons, but they're like he's a sword master and he's blind, and that's his shtick, I guess.
He didn't really have any cool superpowers like everybody else.
I was waiting for them.
He was just very blind.
he had the what's he called? Daredevil. He had the Daredevil powers of super hearing and being able to.
It's a trope in kung fu movies and anime.
Anyway, he uses the sun glare off of his sword to get an advantage because it doesn't blind him, obviously. But it's not enough. He dies. That's 4 down. We learn that this is when we learn that Kagero is covered in poison, and even a kiss on her lips will kill a guy. They find a ship that's been destroyed, and the cargo has been stolen from it, and they assume that that's the gold, and so they track it. The old guy comes back again, and he's attacked by the shadow guy from before. She sends off a note to her clan for reinforcements, and the shadow guy gets his leg cut off, and then he hops away with tremendous speed, and Jūbē gives chase. Kagero gets kidnapped again, and she gets molested again, and now she's the shadow demon's puppet, and she tries to kill Jūbē, but he kills the shadow demon, and she snaps out of it.
He died very easily. It was very confusing.
Yeah, 5 down now, and they're sort of speeding through them. And at this point, I was like, maybe you should have made it 6.
Yeah, do you think 8's a ambitious number?
Yeah, for an hour-and-a-half movie, you should have maybe made it. Just 5 demons would have been fine. Give each of them a bit more time to die. Jūbē and Kagero have a bit of a moment, and she offers up her body, saying, "If you have sex with me, poison will counteract poison," which is totally how poison works.
Yeah. No, the old man said to her that he doesn't actually have an antidote. He was lying.
Oh.
Yeah, because she goes, "You have to." Okay, so Robert skipped a little bit, and I thought that was intentional. There's a part where Jūbē is off doing something, and Kagero turns to the old man, whose name we've all forgotten, and she says, "Why you have to give him the antidote because he's going to need it soon." And then it kind of cuts away and then cuts back, and he goes, "That's the only way to do it. So if you want to save him, better get to it." And then he runs away just before she gets kidnapped. So now we're finding out what he told her, and it's that the only way for him to cure his deadly poison is to make love to her.
Right. It's a really weird antidote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's because he didn't have one, but he knows that, like, you just... It's like that... It's that one... Simpsons is always relevant. You fill yourself up with, like, enough disease that you just, like, cram the doorway into your body, and not one of them can get through.
Just all of the poison counteracts the poison in his body, and then he's fine again.
Cool.
He refuses because he's a gentleman, and he knows that she's only offering because she thinks it's the only way to save his life, and not
because she feels indebted to him as well.
So he's like, "Nah, I'm not that kind of guy."
He gives her a hug though, which was like that was very good.
And his chest is open, so presumably there was like skin to skin when he pulled her in for a hug. And I don't know.
She wasn't sweaty. It was a cold night.
The baddie ninjas are loading the gold that they stole onto another ship now, and then the cavalry arrive. The clan that she wrote off to has finally arrived, but it's a trap. It's a shapeshifted Gemma.
Oh yeah, so they've established that Genma has reincarnation power, and they don't understand what reincarnation means. But what it is that he has complete control over every cell in his body and can reshape it and reattach lost limbs, including his head.
And that's why he didn't die when he was decapitated the first time. He's still got the scar though, so even though he can shapeshift into other people, he can't get rid of a scar.
Yeah.
He's got all sorts of powers, reattachment of limbs and things. Yuri Maro, the Garrote guy, he goes off and finds Jūbē in the town after the trap has been sprung, and he wraps his garrote around his throat and he's torturing him, and he says, "I'm not going to kill you, I'm just going to torture you." But... and this is where the scorn comes back from the first one. The gunpowder lady, who he scorned in the first in one of the first scenes, she set a trap for getting back at Yuri Maro, and she blows him up with a gunpowder rat.
Well, no, there was also a lot of black dust on the ground. Like she clearly filled that building up.
Yeah. So she's like, "Ha ha ha ha! You should have slept with me."
That'll teach him.
Jūbē manages to avoid the blast, I guess, and he runs off to find Kagero, who's now dying. She's been attacked and killed in the trap, and he says, "Thanks for that, I guess." And she's like, "I wish you'd have slept with me. Now you're going to die because of the poison." And then she dies in his arms, and he kisses her on the lips, presumably
curing himself,
nullifying the poison.
Yeah.
The ship has now set sail. Gemma has got away with it. There's only 2 of the 8 demon people remaining now, the Gunpowder Lady and Gemma. They're on the ship, full of gold, and he's sailing away with his evil ninjas.
Sail away, sail away.
And the evil ninja in charge says, "Good job, Lord Gemma." And he's, "We'll take this to the guy in the Shogun, Dark Shogun."
Yeah.
And blah blah blah. And Gemma's like, "Nah, I think I'm going to keep all this gold for myself." And he betrays him. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? The old guy's managed to sneak on the ship, and he lures the explodey lady down into the hull.
I don't think he does lure her. I think he...
No?
No,
But he does say, because she's like, "Oh, you're going to die." And he's like, "Yeah, I needed you here anyway, because I couldn't have blown up the ship without you." Yeah. And then he covers her in oil and lights her on fire, and she explodes. And the ship starts to sink, and then there's a fist fight between Jūbē and Gemma.
It's good.
It's really cool, and there's lots of fighting and everything, and he cuts off his arm, but then he just reattaches it again, and then he headbutts his face into a pulp. And he's like, "Every time you come back, Gemma, I'll just kill you again." Every time he's doing this, he's like punctuating each word with headbutt to the face. Eventually, Gemma's dead in the ground, but then his face reforms and he comes back again.
Yeah. By this point, the fire...
Yeah, the fire on the ship has melted all of the gold on the ship, which comes in like an avalanche and just it's like a tsunami, sweeps them away. He gives him the old... The Game of Thrones treatment, and Gemma gets covered in liquid gold and taken to the bottom of the ocean, where presumably he'll just regenerate forevermore.
Yeah.
The end.
Until he dies.
No, first of all, the old man is like, thank you for helping me. And then he says, "Meet me in Edo and I'll pay you back kindly." And then Jūbē throws a ninja star, I guess, which cuts open the old man's robe, and a piece of gold, like a chunk of gold, falls out. And he's like, "You can count that as my payment." So the old man is broke now, and he says, "I was going to kill you in Edo, but I guess I'll have to do it now." And it does like a weird cut, and then it just shows Jūbē walking with Kagero's headband wrapped around his sword into the sunset, because he's a fucking badass, and we can assume that he killed that old man.
Yeah.
Action movie.
That was the end.
I get the distinct impression that Robert didn't particularly appreciate this movie.
I liked it. I just thought it was really confusing, and I thought that they were demons, and it made sense that they had powers because they were demons. Because doesn't he say, like, when he's fighting Gemma at the end, he's like, I see you came back from hell, and you brought some devils with you or something.
It's just cultural.
I thought he was being literal.
No.
I thought he was like, when I killed you the first time, you found a way to like reincarnate after that, but then you came back from the afterworld, the underworld, whatever, and you brought back these 7 demons with you, who all had demon powers.
Let me tell you about a little show that I like to call Naruto.
What do other people like to call it?
Is that a thing? Is that a...
Well, it's not that they're calling demons, it's more that ninjas in Japanese fantasy are magical, because they have, like, a kind of mystical kind of aura around them in history.
Yeah.
They had things like, you know, that ninjas, in order to tell the time, would keep a cat in their jacket. Like, they would pull the cat out of their jacket.
Yeah.
They would pull the cat out of the jacket, and then they would look at the cat's eye dilation to be like, oh, that's what time of night it is. Ninjas in real life.
Really?
So this is a real thing that they did.
Wow.
In real life.
Wow.
So that's kind of crazy. What else can they do? Reincarnate.
That wouldn't. Why would that make sense? Why would that a cat's eye die? Does that happen? Because
I might be. I feel like I need to.
By different time of night.
Like the reflective.
But that's the level of light that is around.
I might need to double check. I'm pretty sure that they use cats. I know that they also used to there used to be like the myth that they could run on water, and I think they did that.
Right.
Oh, stuttering. I think they did that on MythBusters, where like if you put a lot of corn, if you put a lot of corn flour in water, it's like it's a liquid, but then if you run across it really quickly,
it's a solid.
It's a solid because
it's called a non-Newtonian fluid.
Yeah. So, but like rice paddy fields were like the main source of like rice as a staple, and like perceivably
have a lot of starch in it.
They would have a lot of starch in it, and so they're not actually running on water; they're running across the top of a non-Newtonian liquid.
That
sounds
cool.
So there's like a lot of mystery and kind of stuff that revolves around ninjas, even within Japanese culture, let alone Western culture. Because we just hear about it and like fucking like dark guys wearing swords.
Fantasy element is
built into their culture.
Okay.
So even in shonen shows like Naruto's the first two things he can do is he can make copies of himself and he can turn himself into a girl. Like ninjas are magic; they're Japanese wizards.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
There are mages.
Movie, then.
There are mages in Japanese culture, but essentially ninjas are like spellblades or like fighter wizard multi-class is.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was like, okay, it makes sense they have demon abilities, but then why does the main guy have demon ability, like super fighting abilities, and why does the main girl have super fighting abilities, and why does the old guy have like one of those extendy pole things?
It's all just
super abilities to stretch himself.
It's all just Japanese fantasy stuff,
right?
Okay. So now that we have a kind of mutual understanding of what we just saw. General thoughts and feelings. Robert, you kind of liked it, but you were confused by it.
Yeah, I kind of liked it. I thought they were sort of cramming in a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And had they cut out a few of the characters, it would have been better. And I thought there was a few inconsistencies that annoyed me a little bit. But
like what?
Like early on, So the rock monster guy, he's got his boomerang of throwing, and he kills all of the 20 guys instantly, and then he rips the arms off of the other guy, and the only person he leaves alive is the woman because he wants to do things to her, and she's like running away, and she's escaping to go back and tell the Chamberlain, and she's like hundreds of meters away through the forest, and he throws his sword after her and it catches up to her, and it cuts the branch that she's standing on, and she falls into his arms.
He was really quick.
He's
just a really quick guy.
That was a little jarring.
It was weird. I thought, oh shit, there's two of them.
No.
And then no, it was one, and it would confuse me. So things like that, it was like, why? Why did he need to catch her? He could have walked up and picked her up off the ground.
Badass.
He's a giant rock monster.
Curtis?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Rob. It seems, like a lot to cram in. And I totally had trouble following everything that was happening. But I think towards the end there, I thought it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It all came together really nicely with like the show off between Jūbē and Genma. Yeah.
Oh, one thing I need clarified. Who was the one at the start who was controlling the village girl, saying about the epidemic? The one in the bushes, because I thought it was Gemma.
No, I'm pretty sure it was
because it was like in dark purple light, and that's when we first saw Gemma. He was like that as well. But then later we see the shadow guy finger blast.
It's her. It was him because he has the same mask. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, I figured it must have been because he has the power to control people. It seems.
Yeah.
But it confused me that they introduced it. It seemed like the same shot of Gemma's lower face in like a purple light.
Fair enough.
I think it would have made I think it was just a lot to put into a 1.5 hour movie. It could have been like a short series or something like that.
It also annoys me whenever the bad guys like have an opportunity to achieve the goal that they're trying to go for, and they don't do it for reasons that isn't clear. It's just because the story needs them not to. Like the number of times that Jūbē could have been killed by any one of the demons. There
was like other stuff happening as well, and like the enemies, like they were talking about relationships with each other.
Yeah, I like that.
I didn't understand who the characters were, who they were talking about. It just seems like a lot, and that could have been cool to see more of that.
Yeah, because there was a really complex love quadrangle between some of the demon guys. The Garrote guy was in love with Gemma, but Gemma was bisexual and slept with both men and women.
But he wasn't into Yurimaru.
He wasn't into the Garrote guy, but he was into the snake lady.
Who wouldn't be?
And the gunpowder lady was into the Garrote guy, and she was scorned that he was not into her.
I appreciated that they tried to characterize the antagonists as more than just like, we're evil, check me out.
Yeah.
I mean, the rock monster guy was definitely just evil, and so was the Hornet Man or the Wasp Man. Some of them got well developed, but there were way too many of them. I thought I liked this movie. I thought it was a fun action. I don't really like action movies for the most part,
right?
Unless there's something else to hold me in there. I had a pretty good time with this.
Yeah.
I thought that some of the scenes... I don't think the choreography was terribly good. There were too many cuts and the fights never lasted long enough for me to be like, fuck, I love what they're doing with this. But there were some really good examples of animation. Like, every time Robert said he was grossed out, that was a great example of some good animation. Like, grabbing somebody and then all that's left is their skin. Or talking to an old lady and then, like, pushing her and then snakes start crawling out of her eye holes. And that was all impressive.
Yeah.
The dude getting lifted up by his arms and then just pulled in half.
Which bothered me from a physics perspective, because if you take a piece of paper and like pull both sides of it, I'm pretty sure it's actually physically impossible to rip it into 3 pieces. Even if you've like cut it all the way down to like, so there's a millimeter hanging off on each side. If you pull both sides, it's almost impossible, I'll say, to get the middle bit to fall out. So when he was yanking this guy in crucifix position, one arm should have come off, not both.
It was fun though. And the Hornet guy, he was my favorite just because of... let me paint a picture of the Hornet guy. He is Quasimodo, but he's Quasimodo but uglier. And so you just see this ugly hunchback freak, and then he's like he sneaks into a windmill, and then Jūbē's like, "Come out, you coward!" And he's like, "I'm not going to try to fight you. I can't fight." And then eventually, when Jūbē cuts him and lets the hornets out, I thought, "Oh, that's cool," because he's not actually a hunchback. He just has like a wasp's nest that he carries around with him. But then he takes his shirt off and it's just
it's actually his body.
Which is super gross. It's super gross, but like a really cool and unique thing that I hadn't seen before, so I appreciated that.
Yeah, because I started thinking, like with the Rockman, I was like, oh, that's like the Thing from Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And with the Snake Lady, I was like, oh, it's kind of Medusa-esque. Yeah. But then with him, I was like, I can't think of anything else that this is like.
Yeah. It was super gross, but super cool. Blind guy, he was the least memorable.
It was another one of those things where I'm like, why did you stop them falling to their death? So that
he said he wanted to challenge them, so that's why.
It didn't prove much of a challenge because he was dead within a minute.
Yeah, he died pretty quickly. Yeah. So some of the action sequences were really cool. The one part that I wrote down in my notes that I wanted to talk about is when Kagero has been kidnapped by the Shadow Ninja, and it's like twilight or dusk. I really liked the use of like red lighting for the whole scene. They used a really reduced color palette. It's only tones of red as they're fighting in this building, and the shadows are really exaggerated. It was a cool scene. I really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked the Shadow Demon out of all of them. I think he was sort of my favourite of the bad guys, because I just think it's something really cool that he can literally slink down into the shadow and disappear.
But then the way that he dies though is he ties a rope or his demon claw around Jūbē's magic sword, and then Jūbē just lets go, and then it stabs him, and he just falls out and dies. And I was like, he didn't think that through at all. But he was a cool guy. The whole fight scene with Genma was really had some really awesome bits of like him smashing his skull into the ground. That was that was well animated.
It did bother me though that after he headbutted him, he didn't like finish the job because he knows he can regenerate. He's just seen him reattach his arm.
He's
he
tired.
Didn't, like, cut his head off, cut it into lots of little pieces.
He had his arms broken.
He did.
I don't know. It was a fun movie. Do you guys want to know the before we go into like maybe rating and stuff?
Yeah.
The reason I didn't even tell you guys this was mean. I just was like, this is what we're watching next week. Nobody complained. So the reason that I suggested that we watch Ninja Scroll was because there are a bunch of people who I have been listening to online, and they bullied me into it. No, this was one of those things that people seemed to have a consensus on. They're like, oh, when I was 16, I saw Ninja Scroll and totally fucked me up, or like totally changed my mind. It's like, oh, I saw cartoons. So in the same way that Robert had been hearing about Dragon Ball Z and how we had that shared kind of childhood experience, I heard this about Ninja Scroll and I was like, I want to get in on that.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty good. That's where that origin story is. I do think that Kageto's character was not the worst female character, but she does kind of get relegated to
being raped.
Being raped and like a sad, like emotional sadness for the protagonist.
Yeah.
Speaking of emotional sadness,
emotional sadness.
Towards the beginning of the film, she goes back to the Chamberlain to give a report that all of her team has been slaughtered, and he's having sex with someone. Is he raping her?
No. But she'll be like a prostitute though.
Because I wondered, because it's kind of borderline to me whether she was enjoying it or not. Like the sounds she's making made it sound like she's perhaps being raped.
No.
And given that Kageto has just been subjected to that with the Rockman, I wondered
that would have been bad.
Yeah, I wondered if she was seeing something there.
I didn't think that it was rape. I thought it was that she was probably a prostitute, because that's the time period that it was set in, and prostitutes were a thing.
I also wondered that if it was just consensual or paid for by the sounds of it, was the expression that we saw on Kageto's face then as she's giving the report and seeing what's happening, was it one of like recognizing that she can't have sex because without killing a guy? Yeah,
maybe, because they talk about this. That gets brought up a couple times where she says that she feels sad because she can never have, or other people say that she feels sad because she can never lead a normal life and she can't ever find a partner. And she even says when Jūbē didn't have sex with her to cure his disease, she felt horrible and like rejected because it was the one time where she could have sex with somebody. And she also she does say that she really liked Jūbē.
I think it was like the first time she felt
like a person.
Yeah.
And not just a poison taster or a ninja.
Right.
A ninja.
Right. Life of a ninja.
Which is interesting actually, because she doesn't come across in that scene where she's offering it up. She doesn't come across as if she's like wanting it. She
says that she tried to make her. She says, "I wanted to make you hate me because I didn't want to admit that I had feelings for you," and so she tried to lie to herself and to him about wanting it. And that's also why he was like, "I feel very uncomfortable with you offering me this sex right now, so I won't take it."
Right.
He's like he's the guy who does everything right in the movie. He's the cool guy.
He was a pretty cool guy.
Pretty cool.
I like that when she does give the report to the Chamberlain, she's like, he says, who was the one who killed all my men? And she goes, "Oh, just someone really skillful, that's all I can say." It's like, that's all you can say. You don't want to mention anything about the fact that he was like 8 foot tall and covered in rock.
Was that Genma?
At that point, yes.
Yeah.
It was what? Oh, the guy in the Chamberlain was already
Genma is impersonating the Chamberlain by this point. Yeah.
Right.
Which is why he just sends her back with no backup.
Right. Because I think he always. I don't know if it was because we never got a chance to meet the Chamberlain.
Yeah.
But he was always like, just didn't even care that his entire group of ninjas had been killed. Like, sent them out on, and then just sent her back to death. Essentially,
but it was Genma the whole time.
Which is weird. He can't have been doing it to like for her benefit to like keep. because he was already Timberland presumably when he hired that prostitute.
Yeah.
So how long was he doing it and why? Just was it all part of his plan?
Yeah, because
convoluted of a plan.
So so they also talk about, so I can't remember the name of this clan that the ninjas work for, but there's a whole point of contention where the old man is like, I don't want to tell the clan that there's this gold going down because they will pussy out. They will bitch out completely because they're too small to side with the government, because then the Shogunate of the Dark will come and fuck them up. But if they side with the Shogun of the Dark, then the government will fuck them up. They will fuck us either way. Don't tell them. And Kageto's like, I tell them. And then when she did tell them, it was Gemma the whole time. And he's like, see, I told you that they fucked up. So that was another like C plot thread, and the reason that the old man didn't want to get the local clan involved.
Right.
Ratings out of 10. Why not? Is this even a thing? Do ratings matter? How many Ninja Scrolls out of 10 would you give this?
I would give it 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I would as well. 7 Ninja Scrolls out of 10.
That's what I rated it on my anime list.
Nice.
So, you know what? Fair rating. Maybe check it out if you feel like it. I had a good time.
What's the genre? Is it like strictly action?
I would say action.
Yeah.
Action fantasy.
So people like this movie because it deals with more mature content, I suppose, versus say Dragon Ball Z or something like that.
No, I think it's a time and place thing, because
like like it's got those R16 elements.
Yeah. But it came out in 1997.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason that it's popular is because it's one of the few. So history lesson. A few, like, even 15 years ago. 15 years. Where are we now? 2003. Okay, 20 years ago. Anime still wasn't really being imported into the West wholesale, like Pokemon was.
Yeah.
I think by this point Dragon Ball Z had been.
Yeah.
But not to the extent where you have like Crunchyroll and every single thing being at least getting an official dub. Yeah. Most of the time people were just like acid washing dubs onto VHS and like sending it to people.
Right.
There was no real thing. And one of the few companies that were doing official dubs and licensing it in the West licensed Ninja Scroll, and this was one of the few R-rated things that got an official release. So when it came out, I was like, whoa, this is like so different, so crazy.
Yeah.
So there's that nostalgia value.
Sure.
I think it's just a fun action flick.
Yeah, no.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah, I think if I was talking to the right person, I would. It's not gonna be in like my top 10 or anything.
Would you recommend it? As a whole?
Yeah. As an action anime.
Yeah, I think I would as well.
There you go.
I watched Afro Samurai.
No, stop. A Weeb in review.
No, it's more.
No, stop.
No, it's relevant to this film.
Yeah, but it's not this film.
No, I'm just saying I watched Afro
Samurai.
Afro Samurai, like several years back, but this movie reminded me a lot of Afro Samurai. Like
Samuel L. Jackson probably likes this movie.
Yeah,
I would assume so.
I don't know. It just seems like the blood spraying out of the bodies and being cut in half. Like that was such an Afro Samurai. They took that to the extreme, but
you should just see some more action anime, because that blood spray.
Okay, we'll take this out because
No. This is quality Curtis content. Regis only listens for these seconds. It's like, give it to me. I think that Afro Samurai would be an evolution of like the anime action genre, the R-rated genre, but like blood spurting, like when you cut somebody, it just that's just like a thing that happens.
Okay.
But Afro Samurai is an interesting show, and I think that we should talk about it in a Weeb in review. Do you have anything else you want to say about Afro Samurai?
No, that's all.
That's all. Well, every week we do start with Curtis, who's our biggest, residentist, weebiest man there is. And we say, Curtis, what did you do this week? Anything worth talking about? Because can be this month. I did One Piece a couple episodes ago or something, and that was over the course of a month.
Anime related?
Yeah.
I really can't think. Someone else go. I'll have to think about it.
This is a first. Never happened before. Unprecedented.
To have not watched anything this week. I watched stuff this week. I finished Devil as a Part-Timer finally.
Closing thoughts?
Really good. Really anticlimactic ending though.
It's because it didn't get a second season.
They were intending on it doing?
Well, I think that... So this is the thing that happens with anime is they usually try and make anime as an adaptation of a manga, and there is a manga, and they're making it for the manga audience, not a wider audience,
right.
And it just didn't get the numbers to make a second season.
Which is a shame.
Well, I mean, you could probably read it if you want to find out what happens.
So they get like halfway through the manga?
Don't know. No idea. I don't know. This is not a show that I really enjoyed the time I had spent with that as well, but I don't know how far through the manga they got.
Right, fair enough. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's easy enough to get through if you don't have everything going on every week like I do. You would have been able to get through it a lot quicker than I did. Only 13 episodes. It's really funny. That's the main thing about it. I was really disappointed that in the overall arc of the characters, it was just too quick for my liking. But if you want something funny, it's really good.
Good time.
I watched the first episode of Sailor Moon, the right one this time, not the Crystal remake one. So I've started with that one. Don't have a lot to say about it other than the fact it's kind of creepy. There's an ugly old crone that embodies one of the main character's best friend. Her mother is like a jewelry salesman, and she turns into this horrible hag who's actually not her mum, and she's like, I've actually got your mother in the basement, and after I kill you, I'll kill your mother, and she's horrible. And as she's holding this young girl, this best friend, the main girl enters the store, and she's like, put her down, and her head does an owl sort of a all the way around to the back, and she's like, Sailor Moon, I'll kill you next, and it's just kind of creepy.
Just toughen up.
I know, right?
Toughen up, kids.
Yeah.
Get your shit together.
I just thought, because I thought, that's a good question. What is, Sailor Moon would be a shoujo.
Shoujo magical girl show.
So it's aimed at young girls.
Yeah.
But not toddlers, but young girls.
It has a pretty strong male following as well.
It is?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't expect it, I suppose, from a kiddies show.
I think it also gets classified as a bishoujo, which is a beautiful girl anime. Yeah, because they're beautiful girls.
And I found it really awkward with the amount of exposition that they have to put in from the cat, the magical cat.
Yeah.
Early on, who's you have to say these words for this to work, and so she says the words, and then she's like, now you need to throw your tiara at her and say magical tiara thing, moon tiara action.
It's setting up the kids show thing where she does it every episode, and then the kids do it, and then they buy the merchandise.
It's just awkward. It's awkward that they didn't come up with a way for her to learn that that's what she has to say, or for her to just know that that's what she has to say.
Listen, this is not.
the cat has to tell her these words. Say them. Repeat after me. But
would you know how magic? If a cat came to you and was like, Robert-san, you're a magic.
You're magic now.
Goodbye. And you're like, oh no, wait, tell me how it works.
Tell me how it works. You got to say these words. It's a good point. It's a good point.
Exactly. Didn't fucking think about it.
But then,
even Harry Potter had to go to magic school.
Yeah, what if Hagrid, when Harry, you're a wizard, and he's like, okay,
deal with it.
And then he's like, okay, now hold this wand, Alakazam.
So you're describing when they go to class and they say, now say Wingardium Leviosa and wave your wand like this.
Well, yeah, he's doing the work.
Yeah.
But why didn't they do that in Sailor Moon? Why didn't they have a wizard school?
Why didn't they have a Sailor Moon?
Well, they have the cat. They have the magical girl familiar.
Well, Harry had a wizard. Harry had a Hagrid.
Harry had a Hagrid. Yeah, exactly. So Harry Potter # ripped off Sailor Moon. Check it.
That's yeah.
Only thing that's missing is is there a magical transformation? No, there's not. Shit.
Harry Potter through a magical girl transformation.
I would have watched that.
You're a wizard. When the clock strikes 12 on his 11th birthday, he goes through a magical transformation.
I also watched some Sailor Moon, but I'll just wait until Robert's seen some more of it before I talk about it. I lied. I will say that Tuxedo Mask is very funny. Just as a concept. Love it.
Ridiculous name for a superhero.
He's not a superhero, he's just a guy.
He wears a tuxedo and a mask.
Yeah.
So his name is Tuxedo Mask.
Phenomenal writing. I love it. Having a blast of a time. What else have I watched this week? I've just been catching up on some ongoing series. So I finished Darling in the Franxx. I don't want to talk about it. It's very, very bad. Legit, watch if you're interested at all for whatever reason, still for some reason, and you don't know Mother's Basement for some reason. Watch his thing on where Darling in the Franxx went wrong. It just sums it up perfectly. Because it gets compared a lot to... Okay, because it's made by Studio Trigger, and so it gets compared a lot to Tinker Top and Gurren Lagann, which is a lot of the same production team, even though it was made by Gainax. It's just a bad time, and it's not the same show. They tried to do too many of the same things. It's a bad time. Fuck that show.
Are you like a completionist? Why did you decide you needed to finish it?
Because I got, there was only 2 episodes left.
Right, yeah. So
it's like, you may as well. And it just, honestly, it just, what's the opposite? What's it, hyperbolic curve? Where it just, into the ground. But like a bell of it. It was like, it ramped up. Episode 15 is really good, and then it just into the ground and through the x-axis.
I can't remember. You can take this out. But I was listening to this man on a TED Talk who was an expert in kind of how our brains work. He was talking about this man who was telling him his experience of going and seeing a symphony orchestra live, and how he was listening to this piece of music for 20 minutes and it was beautiful and amazing, and then right at the end something went wrong in the speaker system and a loud pitch noise came through and then stopped, and it ruined his entire experience of this piece. And the guy was explaining kind of how your brain works. So we have
Mm-hmm.
memories. So even though we had 20 minutes of this good feeling, that, and you were there and it was present and it was happening, this 1 second thing ruined all that 20 minutes. You no longer have come away remembering those 20 minutes good feeling. I think that's relevant kind of to what you experienced.
That is relevant.
16 episodes.
So it's not the whole thing was...
No, yeah, okay. So I'll talk about it a little bit more. Funnily enough, Mother's Basement has also done a thing... Oh no, was it Mother's Basement or Super Eye Patch Wolf? One of those fucks has done a video on it is Mother's Basement. Do bad endings ruin good shows?
Right.
He just talks about... Not that, but he talks about the concept.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about what I liked about the show. Character designs are pretty good. They're likable. They're interesting. The mech designs are very interesting compared to other mech shows. They're really unique.
Cool.
The first 15 episodes are paced well enough and interesting enough to keep you going. And the 15th episode has an emotional climax. Something happens that you've been waiting to happen since the beginning, and it feels good.
Cool.
The action is bombastic enough to be interesting.
Yeah.
And mostly it's got a pretty high production value. The show does lull for a little while it tries to be a slice of life coming of age story between these kids, because to be honest, that's where it starts to get confused. This is where it starts to fall down. It doesn't know whether it wants to be a really hyperactive, bombastic action show like Gurren Lagann or a high school drama about teens learning to be adults. And it leans a lot more into the teens learning to be adults than it does the action. The action is good, but it clearly sets itself up to be a coming of age story.
Right.
So that's where it starts to fall down. It also has some interesting world building. And then after episode 15, they do away with established character ideas. One character who was the mischief maker.
Yeah.
She just is likable and friendly and doesn't cause any mischief ever anymore. She's just I like you all now.
I've learned my lesson.
Exactly. Not even a remnant of I do a little bit of mischief. Just a different person.
Right.
Just, I am totally likable. And everything that happens after that point doesn't feel earned and feels like it's taking from... it feels like... Because it starts off and it feels like a homage to shows that I love, like Neon Genesis, Gurren Lagann.
Right.
And a homage is good, but then you slowly realize, oh, this is just surface level. Like, they're not actually doing anything interesting with it. They're just repeating those same ideas without understanding why those ideas were good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, say it sees... say somebody looks at Harry Potter and they see, like, a magical kids school, and so you start watching, like, a magical kid anime, and you're like, oh, this is clearly taken from Harry Potter, and there's, like, a Dark Lord, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, like, that's the same idea, but that's fine.
Yeah.
But then it's just the same recycled idea, and they haven't done anything new or interesting with it, and it doesn't even really fit with the thing that they are doing that's new.
Yeah.
It's just not a very good show, and it's really disappointing. I have... What's something that's actually worth talking about? Hang on. Let me think. Because I've caught up with My Hero Academia. Everybody knows that that's a good show. You guys should watch it if you want to, or maybe don't do. Attack on Titan Season 3 just started. I am ahead of where the anime is in the manga, so I know what happens, but that's a good show as well. But again, everybody knows that. It's just like a show that everybody knows. I don't think I've done anything interesting. I've started playing Octopath Traveler, but that's not worth talking about either. I've started a lot of things.
Yeah.
Haven't really finished anything.
Seeded future Weeb reviews.
Yeah, I could talk about I'll talk about this really quickly. So there's this manga that I've been reading, and I know that Robert is going to love it because Robert is a science boy, and this is a science boy anime. So it's called Dr. Stone, and it is about so it starts off and it's like high school, and this really dumb guy is friends with this really smart guy, and he's in the science club because he's friends with the smart guy. And he's like, I'm finally on my end of my second year of high school. I'm gonna confess to the girl that I love. And you're like, anime tropes. And he goes to confess to her, and then everybody on Earth simultaneously turns to stone. Just stone.
Yes.
And it's horrific because it's slowly happening, and people are like, what the fuck?
Okay.
So everybody gets turned to stone for like 3,780 something years.
Whoa.
And then one day, the guy he can feel his conscious. He just describes what he feels when he's stoned. He's like, I can feel my consciousness slipping away, and so he keeps trying to make his mind active so that he doesn't die
While he's stoned.
Yeah,
sounds awful.
Yeah, it's pretty horrific.
3,000 years.
So all he thinks about is confessing to this girl. It's like, I didn't get to tell her what I meant. I didn't get to tell her that I love her.
Yeah.
I'm going to confess. And then one day the stone just breaks off, and he's like alive again. But it's 3,700 years later. It's post-apocalyptic, but all lush and green. And the super smart science guy is like, I knew you'd wake up eventually. And it is a story about them trying to discover the first little arc is them discovering why they broke out after this long. Like, what?
So who's broken out?
They're both. So, super dumb guy. So his whole thing is that he's got incredible stamina. Like, he can just do a lot of physical labor.
Right.
And the super smart guy knows, like, everything about science. He's ridiculously, cartoonishly intelligent. Not, like, to the point where he can make jetpacks, but he just knows everything about science. So the first arc is them learning why they've broken out.
Everyone in the world?
Everybody in the world is stone. Except for these two. These two people.
Yeah.
They're like, why did we break out? What's going on? So they apply the scientific method. He has a hypothesis. They spend 6 months getting the materials and testing it over and over again, iterating it, making notes. They're testing it on birds because the only other thing that turned to stone were birds.
Yeah.
So they like get a bunch of birds. They get like a shelving system where they're like labeling it and making notes. And then they finally, through the scientific method, make the right like potion. Cure. Yeah.
Nice.
And then they release the girl that we had a crush on and the strongest high schooler. He's like, now this guy's gimmick is that he's impossibly strong. Like, they're getting attacked by lions, they use the potion on him, and he kills a lion with his bare hands. But he becomes the main antagonist. Yeah. So originally the main antagonist was the stone curse, and now it's this guy who has a very different idea of what the world should be like compared to the science guy. The science guy is all about human progress, and science is humanity's greatest achievement.
Much bigger.
Yeah. And this other guy is like, no, you don't understand. Society has been set back to zero the way that it should be, and only the strong should survive. And he goes around smashing statues of old people, and anybody who he didn't like in real life. And so science is like, there's a whole arc where they're just like, we need to make antibiotics, and so they go through the process of like, there's a whole chapter which is like 20 something pages of them just getting different acids through I think you might like it. It's very fun. There's combat and there's comedy, and it's just a hoot and a holler of a time.
Nice.
I'm up to chapter 30 something. I don't know. It's ongoing, but
are they curious as to why the two of them broke free?
They figure it out.
Okay.
They figure it out while they're figuring out the potion.
Okay.
Right. That's a part of it. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but also it's very, 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 very good. Yeah.
It sounds good. I didn't finish it, but I got like halfway through a Harry Potter fan fiction. We've talked about Harry Potter a lot in this.
On the mind.
Harry Potter fan fiction that's like an entire novel. It's online, and it's like a what if Harry Potter was a scientist and raised by scientists instead of by the Dursleys. And he's a super smart genius kid, effectively. And he
just walks into Snape's class, and Snape's like, "Hello, Potter, I'm going to give you an F." And he's like, "Fuck you, Snape. Exact science."
Exact science.
Aces potions.
It's called Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality. And he teaches, he has to come to terms with magic because it's not a science, and he's like trying to work it out. But he's applying the scientific method to the spells that he's doing. He learns like Wingardium Leviosa, and he's like, there's no method by which my saying those sounds in that order should work. And so he applies a double blind test and like has other people do a spell that they've never heard of, but like he knows what the spell actually should be, and he's getting them to say like different variations of it on like a bat, and one of them will turn it green and the rest won't work. And he's like, why would those sounds work if the spellcaster doesn't know what it's meant to do? Then it can't be like a bias, it can't be. And so it's really it's a fun read that he's like trying the scientific method on magic.
That is fun. I've only very recently been coming to terms with magic not being a science. That really upsets me in fantasy. That's all I have to say on it. It's just it upsets me that magic isn't a science.
Why would it not be?
Because like in things where it isn't a science. Like Harry Potter, magic is clearly not a science. Right. It is bullshit. Magic. Apart from potions. Potions is like chemistry.
Right.
It's just they have access to more materials than we have.
But wouldn't it be a science? Like, wouldn't it just be that the wouldn't the existence of magic, which seems to break the laws of physics, wouldn't that just indicate that
there are physics that we don't understand
the laws of physics?
Yeah, but
because the magic has to obey certain laws as well.
Yeah.
And so those laws would be the new laws of physics.
So the reason that we can keep talking about this is fine. I was talking with a mutual friend of ours who we play D&D with, the other one who isn't here. And we were having an argument about D&D and like the planes and the planar system and how magic works with that. They adhere to some laws sometimes, but then sometimes they don't adhere to laws, and magic just operates on a different level, and it does upset. And so magic in Harry Potter we'll just stick with Harry Potter. Sometimes you need a wand, sometimes you need to say the words, sometimes you don't, sometimes you just point at it and you think about it.
Yeah.
So that's already breaking.
Well, no, I think they try to acknowledge that. They sort of say that if it's strong if you're well trained enough. Well, I suppose if you're strong enough, but because Harry's grown up as a wizard, not knowing he was a wizard, and so at various times he like makes the glass in the zoo disappear or whatever without meaning to. It's like wild magic that it's in him, and he doesn't need a wand for it to happen because it's bottled up.
But muggles can do magic. So
Muggles can't do magic?
Yes, they can.
In what way?
Is Hermione not a muggle?
No, she's a muggle born. She's a witch. She's a
so magic is up inside you. So you could be
She has magic inside her. She is a wizard, a witch. But her parents weren't. But she is not a muggle. Muggles are
so it's like mutants
cannot do it. Yes, it's more like the mutants of X-Men. Like you either are or you're not.
So it's like an essence.
It goes the other way as well. Like wizards can have a squib who would be a non-magical.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about squibs. I don't like Harry Potter.
Why don't they just come out? Another thing about Harry Potter. Why don't they just come out into the world? Why is it so secret?
That's addressed as well. They used to be out in the world and together and everything, but then the Muggles were like, "You should be solving all our problems for us," and they're like,
"Oh, we don't want to."
And then they started like burning them at stakes and stuff, and so the wizards were like, "You know what? We should not do this." And so they have some statute of secrecy.
And then we kept the internet from them, and now they're dumb.
I know, right? They're still using still using quills and shit instead of typing things on computers.
What is the precise?
This is an anime podcast, not a Harry Potter podcast.
This is like this is worse than the Roald Dahl segment. I don't know. No,
What about the ninja scrolls that we just watched? Do you like their magic? Is their magic?
No, but you're not supposed to understand it. It's just like, so the way that ninja magic works usually is it's that, and like this is consistent through most fantasy things that I've seen, is that like it's a technique that you learn, and you can learn other techniques, but you can only master one technique.
Right.
So all of these ninjas are masters of their one technique. Like the only thing that Gimma can do is reincarnate. The only thing that the Snake Lady can do is Snake Lady stuff.
Like you could become a good swordsman, or you could become a good archer, or something like that.
You can do one thing. You can do other little things.
Stick to a discipline, and
which is why Yurimaru dies, is because he learns to talk into the string, but also electrocute people. But he doesn't learn to look, which is why he dies. No, I have problems with magic, and it's not easily explained. I can usually just shrug them off.
Not as many problems as you have with
time travel. Yeah, time travel is a whole thing. And yeah, no, I don't want to talk about time travel. But yeah, Harry Potter, I don't like the magic system in Harry Potter. It's bad. The magic system in Fullmetal Alchemist, though, that's a magic system.
It's on my list.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm supposed to do a recommendation, but I actually don't think I've seen any movies I want to recommend because I've just not had the time to watch. I was supposed to watch a movie to recommend for this, but then I didn't do it. I didn't do the damn thing. So
what's a movie that's been recommended to you that you haven't watched yet?
Oh, there's heaps. I could go through my Mal list and be like, look at all these movies that I'm supposed to watch. No, I could recommend a show, though, right?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll do this one. I want to recommend Tatami Galaxy. Tatami Galaxy is directed and I think a little bit animated by Go Nagai. No, not Go Nagai. Fuck, that was going to be very wrong. I forgot the guy's name. Shit. Oh, god damn it. I gotta look that one up. Just a sec. I'll leave this in. People can... I don't have to pretend that I'm better than I am. I know who I am. I'm a guy who forgets names. Go Nagai is the guy who made Devilman. Do you know Devilman?
No.
It's going to be a running joke. Because you always forget that I ask you and you always just don't know.
You've asked me before?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I watched a Netflix animated thing. It's not Japanese. I didn't bring
The Hollow?
No, I've talked about that already. No, I watched the first episode of the new Rick and Morty. What's it called? Final Space.
That's not Rick and Morty, though.
It is. You can,
we saw the ad for it and we were like, that's
you can tell that's what they're trying to do with it.
Yeah.
It's the sort of comedy that it is, and yeah, you can tell that's what they're trying to do with it. Is that?
Yeah, I think jeez, I don't know where my brain's at. I think I'm pretty sure I watched. That's with he's in a spaceship. He's
prisoner on a spaceship, and there's a little green alien. Yeah.
I'll check it out.
I think that was based on a short on YouTube that someone made. I haven't looked into it.
Do you see that they're making Infinity Train into a TV show? Yeah. Oh, can I talk about Steven Universe? I could talk about Infinity Train that's coming out next year.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know Infinity Train? The Cartoon Network short?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's getting made into a full series next year.
That was good.
Yes. Very good.
That was really good.
Steven Universe is basically anime, but I won't talk about it, so just watch that show. Okay. Masaki Yuasa. That is the name I was looking for. I get him. He did the Devilman adaptation on Netflix, which is why I get him and Go Nagai confused. He did Mind Game.
Mind Game. Yeah. Right.
I haven't seen Mind Game, but that's what made me think of Masaki Yuasa, because I was like, I should have seen Mind Game. I'll talk about this guy. So Tatami Galaxy is a weird looking anime. I'll bring it up and show Rob later, and Rob will go, that doesn't look like anime. It's about...
I do sound like that.
It's about a guy in his third year of college, not high school, and he's just thinking about what a rotten time he's had of college, and it's all told in him laying on his bedroom floor thinking about the past 3 years and what he's done, and he joined this club because he was like, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to meet my wife. And that was kind of his goal, was to just meet somebody for him to fall in love with. And he's just had a shit time of it. He didn't really like the club that he was in. He's made friends with this one guy who they portray as a demon. Like a cartoony kind of, he's got sharp teeth and pointy ears, and he always plays pranks and fucks up his life. And he blames him for everything, and he's just like, if I could just go back and do it all again, I swear I would do it differently. And then it like zooms in on a clock, and then it starts going back quickly. And then he goes back in time, but he doesn't remember anything, but he gets to play it out differently, but he doesn't remember. Right. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, okay, if you were going to do things differently, here's your opportunity to do that. And every episode, he does differently the thing that he complained about, so he joins a different club every time. Right. He's like, I'm not going to focus on love this time, I'm going to focus on my studies. And then it shows what happens, and he's never happy.
Right. That's pretty cool.
It is very good. I wish that I had seen it during college, because I was probably a similar mentality to this guy during the show. It has a happy ending, but like blaming other people for your own shit and baggage and bullshit. And it's a comedy series, and he is kind of not seeing the forest for the trees kind of deal. You know, like, I wish I could find love, and there's like a girl who clearly is interested in him, and he's just ignoring her because doesn't love her, and blaming this popular, successful guy for all the shit that's happening in his life. And it's like, no, he's popular and successful because he works hard at it. And yeah, it's really good. It's got a really strong Western following. It's not very popular in Japan for some reason. I mean, relatively speaking. It's just a really good show. Good soundtrack, funny characters, interesting art style, very, very, very cartoony. And I like it a bunch. It made me feel good. It's like 12 or 13 episodes. Not particularly long.
What's it called again?
Tatami Galaxy. So tatami is a floor mat. Right. And he lives in this old rundown rental building, and he has like tatamis on the floor, and he ends up like building a galaxy in his room. Like, it's his room that he resigns himself to.
Is it recent?
2008.
Can we just end the podcast?
It came 2004, 2008. I knew that there was a reason that I was thinking 2004. So I think it got released in Japan in 2004, and then it got a Western release in 2008.
I want to watch that.
Yeah.
I tried it.
I watched this under Curtis's recommendation. He was like, I'm watching this show. And then I finished it.
And then you finished it and got really into it. I need to pause it because I'm a slow reader. And so I need to pause.
They talk really quickly.
Because it's just like sentence gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I watched Mind Game.
Yeah.
And I really liked that film.
Yeah.
And I looked up some of it, and I really like that style. It's really weird, and it doesn't really look like anime.
No, it doesn't.
And I stumbled upon this, so I should give it a go, because
everything that Masaki
really
Yuasa has done looks great. So the only two things that I've seen are Devilman Crybaby and Tatami Galaxy. But I know of Mind Game. I know the movie that he released last year is supposed to be very, very good as well.
Right.
And Ping Pong, the animation, also looks very good. Yeah. Lots of good key animation on that.
Yeah.
Someone on Reddit suggested Devilman Crybaby.
Did they?
To me recently.
I don't know if you will like it. We could talk about that really quickly. So Devilman Crybaby is based on the 1972 manga Devilman. It's already got an anime adaptation, but this is like a modern day retelling of it, because it's set in the 70s, and they're like, we'll bring that to now. I have really mixed feelings about that show. It got really rave reviews because there's kind of a consensus at the moment that anime is kind of resting on its laurels as a industry. All anime tends to look the same. I know that we've been looking at a bunch of different stuff, but recently everything just looks polished and digital, like Violet Evergarden, but maybe a little bit not as good as that.
Right.
Whereas Devilman Crybaby is hyper violent, like it could not have been on TV. It's on Netflix.
Right.
Hyper violent, hyper sexual, and deals with a lot of stuff that we just don't see anymore. So I kind of feel like people are just happy to see something fresh. It has a lot of issues that are addressed or aren't issues in the manga. But that's also because the original anime adaptation was 39 episodes, and they've condensed it down to 12.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they have a lot less time to work with. It has a really strong end, but the beginning and the main character is just impossibly naive to the point where I find it a bit unbelievable.
Right. Yeah.
But it is a good show and is really well animated. So the premise of Devilman is that Akira Fudo is a naive nobody who does bad at sports, and he's living with a family friends because his parents aren't around at the moment, and his friend from 10 years ago shows up out of the blue. He's a Westerner. And I've forgotten his name. Fuck me dead. But he's blonde and he wears white jacket. He just shows up with an Uzi and shoots a bunch of bullies. Just it doesn't shoot them, but shoots at them. And they're like, whoa. And he's like, get in the car, Akira. And Akira's like, okay. And he's like, we're going to go to a club. There's demons at the club and we're going to expose them. And Akira's like, okay, I believe you. So they go to the club, and long story short, Akira gets possessed by the demon Amon, but he retains his human heart. So he has a devil body with a human heart, kind of like a devil man. Gotcha. So he straddles the line between being a demon and a human, and he is kind of like a superhero, anti-hero, and the plot gets way crazier than that, but it's the starting premise. Right. And it has a good ending, I think.
I'll have to watch one.
It's pretty graphic.
Much easier to watch them when they're on Netflix.
No, you just toughen up. So, we'll wrap it up. Oh.
Just remembered as well that immediately after I finished this movie, in preparation for this episode, there was a knock on my door, and a letter got delivered to me.
Oh no!
And I thought it was from Regis, and I was like, oh shit, now he's delivering it to me. But then I noticed it was from my anime list, and I opened it up, and it was my first badge.
Oh,
it's a paper one, so it's like the very first
certificate.
Step. It's my paper certificate, and it said you've now completed 15 animes on my anime list.
What are the 15?
Well, a lot of them are BBC films.
You're well on your way.
Yeah.
Right on.
Those are the ones that I've completed, and then I've also dropped 5 and put 2 of them on hold.
I have put DBZK on hold.
Yeah,
because we don't know when we'll come back to that. I've got a few on. And I tend to, if I start a show, depending on how long it is, I tend to finish it. Do we want to talk about the Reddit? I don't know whether we do that, because it's fine to say there's only one guy who's talked to us really recently, I think, right? Not a very big podcast, Joshua Son of None. Talk about that guy.
He's spoken to us a few times, but I've had a few other comments and things.
I don't social media. Nothing gives me greater social anxiety than large spaces and online forums. But he recommended Black Lagoon. I've seen Black Lagoon, just out of if you're curious. I didn't have a good time with it, but that's because I don't like bad people. And that shows bad people. It's like a good guy who becomes a bad guy. And I know that they're kind of not that bad, but they're still pretty bad. They do child trafficking at one point, and the only reason that they stop is because they're not going to get paid. And I'm like, oh. Okay, I guess.
That's kind of one reason to stop, I guess.
Yeah, but so that's, I mean, if you enjoy it, it's got some good action. They fight some Nazis, which is pretty fun. But I've already talked about how I don't like bad guys. But we will wrap up. This has been... Oh, no, when you talk about what we're going to be watching... in the first episode was Robert wanted to watch Dragon Ball Z Kai. Then we did an anime potluck. Because Robert wanted to get into anime. Then we did a potluck and we all pitched it. And we had mixed results. And that's fine. I have come to the table with Revolutionary Girl Utena, because I've heard that it's an influential and well-written shoujo, and we haven't really... I have not seen many shoujo at all, and Curtis got lots of experience with shoujo.
No.
Shoujo.
So it is about a girl who, when her parents die, is consoled by a prince, and he gives her a ring and says, "Seek me out," and she vows to one day become a prince herself. Yep.
What?
I don't think she understands how princes work, but she decides that she's going to fucking do it anyways, and then she...
I thought it was going to be like a really liberal sort of thing about gender equality. I don't know.
Well, she can be a prince.
Yeah. Well, she can't. But
well,
like,
she can if she fights hard enough, because she goes to a high school and people with the same ring as her have to fight in a competition to marry the Rose Bride.
Oh, wow.
So she is fighting to become a prince after she marries the Rose Bride.
Sweet.
It looks really good. I've heard good things, and it looks visually appealing to me. It's made in the 90s, so it looks very 90s. So we're going to be watching that from now on. It's 39 episode run, so we'll have about 13 episodes of that. And then there's a movie. I don't know if the movie is just a summary or not, but that's what our plans are.
Season 3.
But until then, you can get in touch with us at KYFCaYAC@gmail.com. Email us any questions or queries or whatever that you have. We're on all of the social medias. Obviously, Robert is very active on Reddit. I get too nervous to talk to people. And let us know. Get in touch. Get involved. Or don't. That's also fine. Let us know if you're a friend or a foe. But until then, I have been your anime orchestra conductor, Joel.
I was your anime fourth chair violinist, Robert.
And I was your anime cowbell player, Curtis.
Catch you on the next... No, wait, I don't do that anymore. Oh, fuck.